Hey everyone, okay, so today we're going to be doing the 2016 versus 2021 foundation. Now, I'm going to be very kind of specific in this, that I'm not going to try and do one side like the 2021 better and make the 2016 really heavy. So I want you to see, I'm going to blend both as best I can, and then you can kind of make a decision on what you think is, which is your preferred side. So let's make a start. Okie doke. So my face is completely clean, has a very light amount of moisturizer on. So we're going to start on this is my left, and I'm going to be doing this side with the 2021, and on the right side of my face, I'm going to do the full coverage. So I'm going to use a cream, and I'm just going to use my finger. So I'm just going to dab this on quite lightly onto the face, and then I'm going to use my brush, and we're going to do that stippling, well actually it's a buffing motion, I'm sorry, and I'm going to buff this into the skin. So this is the 2021, and in general this tends to be how I apply foundation. I go kind of spot at a time, not a lot, build up, and I kind of see where I go with it. And let me get a tissue, I want to show you something. The thing with foundation is that when you think that you've buffed enough, because there's nothing left on the brush, there really is. Because if you start to move around on a white tissue, you can see, oh sorry, oh, I'm just cack-handed. You can see that there's still product on there. So when you think you've done enough, it's probably better to keep going. So looking at that, I would be more than happy with that on my face, absolutely. Well, what I'm going to do is just go into the inner corner here and the outside corner of my eye, and I'm just going to take a beauty blender. I'm just going to push and press just those two areas here. And I'm still blending it out, but I really want to avoid this area here because it's problematic as we get older. It's that creases and wrinkles. So I'm going to avoid any product there unless I have to, which in my case I don't. I'm also just going to touch apply a really small amount just on the cheekbone, and whatever's kind of left on my finger, just going to tap it onto this kind of inner corner, and then just take the beauty blender, just blend it away. So I'm pretty happy with that. There's still a little bit of excess redness that I could deal with, but I'm more than happy with this amount of coverage, and to me it looks natural. In the mirror, my skin looks much more perfected. So we're going to add a little bit of color and then we'll move on. So I'm going to take my lipstick, which is Lily Lipstick by Wayne Goss. That's me. And I'm just going to apply this right here to begin with. I love Lily lipstick, it's so pretty. I'm just going to move it with my finger. Just want to add a little bit of color, and then I'm just going to buff it in. And I tend to go quite heavy-handed with blush because I really like it, but some people don't. So I'm just going to do about this amount. And I'm a really big fan of using lipstick as a blusher. I just think it's a really nice way of doing it. And with this kind of color, you can do your lips and you've got harmony. So we're going to move on before we do any setting, okay? So on the other side, we're going to do the same thing, but with a full coverage. Okay, so going to take the same foundation, but this time I'm going to apply it heavier, and I'll be applying more than one application, and I'm going to go all over with this. So I'm going to first start to buff it in to the skin. And it's worth also noting that my definition of full coverage and yours might be entirely different. You might look at it and go, well, that's light coverage. But to me, it might be full. So it's dependent on how we view it. So as I see it here, that will be full coverage, but we'll do another coat because I know that a lot of people won't feel that way. And there isn't a best side. There's just the side that you like. So I'm just going to re-dip and just go back in and just build up here. I may need to go back over there in a minute. We'll see. I'm not going to use concealer for this. I'm going to use the same product I did, which is that foundation. But this time I'm going to go all the way underneath the eye and a fair amount, just to really cover that area. And I'm going to use the Beauty Blender and just kind of bounce it on the skin. But I'm using pressure here to really work it in. So with that bounce, there is quite a firm pressure. And like I mentioned before, it can make the eye look a little bit red sometimes when you go too close up. I don't quite know why that is, but it is what it is. Okay, so let me just grab my mirror, see where we're at. So that's full coverage, at least in my book. I mean, in the mirror here, it looks pretty good, but let's just go in a little bit more and kind of up here, just a touch. Because we really want to get it as full coverage as we can. And I think both have a time and place. I mean, generally speaking, for me, I don't like to see foundation on the skin. I do want to pretend that the skin is without product, but that's just my kind of preferred preference. It isn't everybody's. And I'm going to cover my ear on this side. Not going to touch this one because you can see the difference that doing an ear can make, particularly if you're like me and your ears tend to be on the pink side. You can kind of see that everything kind of blends more into one than it does if you've got one pink ear, but we'll see. Still looking a bit pink to me. Okay, so I'm okay with that, right? I mean, so what that I've just gone into my ear and onto my face? This is my face, it's fine. So now we're going to set it. So we'll set one side, we'll set them the same, but with different amounts of powder. But we need to add some color because we added color to the other side. So let's add color. And we'll just blend I love, obviously it's my product, but I love the Lily lipstick because it is this beautiful, wearable, everyday color. And it's so pretty and it just looks girly and youthful. And I love it. It's so pretty. Okay, so we're going to set the makeup now. So we're going to set the first side, which is the sheerer side. And I'm actually just gonna, because it's been left to sit, and now I'm just going to very lightly powder this look. You don't have to powder everything. You could leave some shine if you wanted to, but I'm going to powder for this video. And again, it's not a huge amount that I'm applying here, but enough to ensure that there is some longevity to this look. And on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing, but with a lot more powder. But at the same time, I am going to be respectful to this and not overdo it. So what I tend to do is push it like this so you can see the product on the skin. And that really isn't the way to do it, but this is a full coverage look. Because generally speaking, when you put a powder puff to the face, there shouldn't be any visible powder. so you shouldn't see it, but for this, we want to lock this in. And it's going everywhere, underneath the eye, all over. And then I'll take a big powder brush and I'll knock off any of that excess powder that I've got on my face. I'm a big fan of powder. I like to use a little foundation and a lot of powder normally. And what I'll do, when I believe I've got enough on, which I pretty much think is now, right? Because there's a very matte face on this side, is I'm going to take a powder brush. So a nice big powder brush, and now I'm just going to knock it all over the face. There's enough powder on here, on my face, that I'm not going to disturb the foundation underneath, but it just takes away that excess powder. I'm going to finish this off with a small amount of highlighter and blusher. So I'm going to take my palette. Now this is back in stock, I think in maybe 6 weeks or so. They're all back in stock. I'm taking this, which is Coral Rose, and I'm going to apply the shimmer side first, the highlighter, but I'm going to be really careful about where I apply this. I want it on my face, and I'll blend that in a second. And the same thing, I want to stay away on me from this area here. It's not a good area for me. So I need to apply the highlighter. See, I've gone too far down, but that's my own mistake. But I need to apply it more in that direction and not here on my face, because it just isn't going to work for me. It's going to accentuate under eye bags and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to add just a touch to the temples as well. Before I blend in with the blusher, I'm just going to take that same brush and just lightly go over it, just to give it a bit of a blend. Now I'm going to take the same brush and I'm going to dip it into the gorgeous blusher. Just going to give it a little tap, and I'm going to go over that area because I want there to be, this is such a beautiful subtle blush, but I want it to look like it's kind of melting into each other. And you can layer these products. I mean, they can go on sheer, or you can just really build them up. It just depends on your look. But if you like a really subtle kind of pretty blush, then Coral Rose is it. It's really pretty. So I'm just going over those edges, just like a bit of watercolor, back to that same brush, just to knock it off and blend it in. Okay. And that is the finished article. So on this side of the face here, we've got the 2021. And this side, we've got the full coverage. And you can decide which one you prefer. I do believe there's a lot of people out there who will probably think that really isn't full coverage. And you might be right. But it is in my book, okay? That's what I would consider full coverage. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, both sides look great. This side looks more natural, it looks more like skin to me, which I prefer. I just think it's nicer. I mean, we could just a tiny tinkle. We could just go in there just quickly, just brighten that up, just a touch. Always makes me happy. But I prefer that side. But the full coverage side does look, in the mirror here, it might look different in 4K, but it does look nice. I mean, it looks all right. You know, I wouldn't be horrified if I was walking around like that. I mean, I personally wouldn't walk around with either of them because it's not my cup of tea. Quite happy just washing my face, but it's nice. I think it looks really, really nice. There's a nice dimension to both. What do you think? Which is your favorite side? 2021? Or 2021 or 2016? You let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.